This footage was taken on the 5th of October 2020 at 1:15 a.m. Tragically, this is the last known sighting of 23-year-old Marisela Botello. This is a case of murder, suspects who go on the run, and a family torn to pieces and left devastated. We would like to take a moment to send our sincere condolences to all of the friends and family of Marisela Botello. Marisela Botello was a young woman with a lust for life. Like most people her age, she enjoyed partying and her friends. In October 2020, Marisela, who lived in Seattle, traveled to Dallas, Texas to meet up with her ex-boyfriend, who she had remained friends with. After spending the weekend with him, she decided to do what a lot of people in that area do, go to the deep Ellum area on Sunday to do some drinking. On the CCTV footage we've shown, Marisela is seen leaving a bar called Select Start in the Deep Ellum Entertainment District, which is full of bars and restaurants.
Visiting from Seattle after a weekend with her ex-boyfriend, she went drinking alone on Monday, October 5th. Just after midnight, a Lyft dropped her on Elm Street, and surveillance video showed her leaving Select Start, but she hasn't been seen since.
From there, she just never came back, and that's around the same time also that we seen the last cell phone activity, last time her debit card was ever used.
Marisela's aunt, Nestle Castillo, said Dallas police haven't started investigating. They're desperate to find her niece.
The man she is leaving with is Charles Beltran, a 31-year-old man who lived about 15 minutes away. Charles was also known to frequent the Deep Ellum district and had met Marisela in a bar. It is alleged the two hit it off as soon as they met, and having left the bar together, it is also alleged that the two had a one-night stand in Charles's car. Many people from the local area had stated that the Deep Ellum district is not the safest of places for people to wander around at night, least of all a petite young woman like Marisela. So it is seen strange that she chose to go out by herself. We also know from her family that she had no other friends in the area, just her ex-boyfriend. Charles lived with 57-year-old Lisa Jo Dykes, who, despite the gap in age between them, it is alleged there was some sort of a relationship going on. It had been said by people who knew Charles and Lisa that their relationship wasn't very serious. If anything, it was more like Lisa just wanted to have a younger man around her. She apparently paid for everything, including the home in which she moved him into, and Charles's car, a nice black Audi. Lisa was originally from Kentucky and was raised in a very conservative household. She later moved to Florida, where she worked as a paralegal for a law firm which dealt with personal injury claims. This was how she met her first husband. He was one of her clients, and the two fell in love and got married in 1999. Her husband was from the Middle East, and although Lisa was a practicing Christian, it is said by former friends that she was very easily swayed and would change her appearance or behaviors to fit in with different people. For example, she would wear a headscarf for the benefit of her husband, who was a practicing Muslim. It would be easy to assume that she felt pressure to change her dress, but she didn't. Her husband actually disagreed with it and said that she should continue to be a Christian, and when it suited her, she did go back to Christianity. For example, she was hot-tempered. Every time the couple would have an argument, she would tear off the headscarf and throw it at her husband in anger. Something that is significant, though, for reasons we will learn later, is that Lisa was heavily into witchcraft. She believed in casting spells on people using black magic. Who knows where she learned this, but she believed a way to curse someone was by using bodily fluids. Despite her marriage, when things started getting nasty between her and her husband, she actually used her own, and we apologize for the term, menstrual blood in her husband's food to put a spell on him. Lisa was seemingly a very paranoid person as well. She had 3 children, 2 boys and a girl from another previous marriage. She was so scared of her ex-husband finding out where she lived and taking her children that she would never let the children leave the home, not even to attend school, nor were they homeschooled. They were completely secluded from the outside world for years. Lisa and her second husband divorced for obvious reasons. The marriage was wrecked. Her ex then remarried not too long after and moved to Dallas. Lisa had heard that her ex-mother-in-law was very ill. She offered to help care for her and uprooted her entire life, moving to Dallas with her children. She moved to a rural area called Wilmer, surrounded by lakes, trees, and scrublands. It wasn't until 4 years later that she would move to where Beltran lived. In the early hours of October the 5th, another friend of Dykes and Beltran, named Nina Morano, age 49, was also at the home on Kensington Drive. Nina was from Pennsylvania. Her partner, William Morano, had passed away in 2019 after being involved in a serious car collision. She and her husband had set up at least 2 different businesses in the past. One was a pizza restaurant in Utah and another a law office in New York, which served as the couple's home. The age gap between the two, however, was substantial. Nina was 47 when her husband passed away. Michael was 82 years old, a 35-year gap. How long Nina and Lisa had known each other is unclear at this point, but we know that they met in Florida, where Lisa returned after her divorce, continuing her work as a paralegal. Nina was a lawyer at the law firm, and the two became friends. In February of 2020, around 4 months after her husband's death, Nina set up another company called the Empire Law Group. The director's address is Nina's known address in East Stroudsburg, Pennsylvania. But here's the strange part. The registered name and address for the business is in Davenport, Florida, under the name of Lisa Dykes. We also know the pair lived together, spending their time living between Lisa's home in Texas and Nina's home in Pennsylvania. The link between Charles and Nina is slightly more tenuous. Nina was very big into Santa Muerte. Translated to English, it means Saint Death. The following of Santa Muerte has received condemnation from both Catholic and evangelical churches and is seen by some as more of a death cult than it is a religious teaching. Followers believe that Santa Muerte will deliver them safely to the afterlife when their lives come to an end. But Charles was also a follower of Santa Muerte, and given Charles probably met Nina through Lisa, this would have certainly given them something in common which could have struck up a friendship. These 3 people may have met each other by chance, but they clearly shared one common interest, witchcraft, and the teachings of Santa Muerte, something that would bind them together with tragic consequences. The police got to work straight away in efforts to find Marisela Botello. She didn't turn up to the airport for her return flight to Seattle. She hadn't been captured on any other cameras, and strangely, she hadn't been seen or pictured on any cameras throughout the evening earlier. Posters appeared all over the Deep Ellum area, appealing for any information as to where Marisela could be. Marisela seemingly vanished without a trace. Her belongings were discovered shortly after her disappearance with the cooperation of her ex-boyfriend, but police quickly ruled him out as a suspect. It isn't clear why he was excluded so quickly from the investigation, but authorities were very confident. One could only assume that he had an alibi. We also know that he was the person who called Marisela's parents the day after because she hadn't returned to his home to collect her belongings. The CCTV footage of Marisela on the 5th of October 2020 at 1:15 a.m. may have been the last physical sighting of her, but it wasn't where the trail ended. As we know, mobile phones will ping off of different towers in different areas. The longer any device is at one location, the more accurate their position becomes. Marisela's phone was still turned on at approximately 4 a.m., as were those of Nina, Lisa, and Charles. All of the phones pinged together at the Kensington Drive location, Lisa and Charles's home. Along with the CCTV footage, which admittedly is poor quality, it took just 3 weeks until Charles was named as a person of interest by the police. In fairness to the police, they had been looking at Charles early in the investigation, but they kept the name secret as to not scare him away. But Charles, who already had a long criminal record, had already gone on the run from police. Strangely, Charles seems to have been enjoying being on the run for a time. He continued to update his social media with different locations, even filming a mini music video. The police seemed to think that these locations were simply a red herring to confuse them. This, however, did not stop them from coming under intense scrutiny from the media, with one outlet asking why Dallas police didn't seem to be treating the case as a priority. There was also condemnation about the lack of details regarding Marisela herself, not to mention the man that they wanted to talk to. The police, of course, denied all the allegations. Soon after Charles went on the run, the police tried to track his whereabouts, but he was proving to be very elusive. They did, however, have some luck on his car. The black Audi A6 was found in New York. Hair samples taken from the trunk matched those of Marisela. The police wanted to talk to Nina and Lisa as well, but in a strange twist, the two legal professionals had quit their jobs and disappeared. Upon searching the home on Kensington Drive, they discovered a freshly cleaned carpet. However, when you looked under the carpet, there were brown and red stains. Samples were taken, and they did match Marisela. It was now undeniable that Marisela had been with the three suspects. DNA also proved that she had been in or around Charles's car, and it was her blood on the carpet in their home. New phone data also revealed that the day after Marisela disappeared, Nina and Lisa had gone to a wooded area in Wilmer before returning home. It just so happened that the wooded area was opposite the home that Lisa had rented for 4 years before moving on to Kensington Drive. The police now had 3 suspects, but none of them could be found, and there was no body. That is, until months later on March the 24th, 2021. Tragically, human remains were found on Post Oak Road in Wilmer by a lady who was out walking in the heavily wooded area about 15 miles from Dallas. The partly decomposed remains were sadly confirmed as belonging to Marisela Botello.
A Seattle woman who went missing in the deep Ellum area of Dallas in October of 2020 has been found dead. Police said Marisela Botello Valdez was last seen alive on October 5th of last year. Her body was found on March 24th in a wooded area near East Beltline Road and Post Oak Road in Wilmer, Texas. A suspect identified as 49-year-old Nina Moreno was arrested on March 25th in Miami, Florida, and charged with capital murder. 2 other suspects, 31-year-old Charles Beltran and 57-year-old Lisa Dykes, are at large and are wanted for murder. Police searched the Mesquite home of the suspects and found blood that matched the victim. Anyone who may have information as to the whereabouts of Beltran and Dykes is urged to call 911 immediately.
The police now ramped up their efforts to find the suspects, and it paid off. Nina Morano was discovered in Miami the very next day, and 2 days later, Lisa Dykes was discovered in Orange County in the northern part of Florida on the 27th of March. But where was Charles? He was in Utah, finally being discovered in a suburb of Salt Lake City called West Jordan. To the surprise of many people who knew them, Lisa and Nina had gotten married while on the run, and they were keen to stay together. They did post $500,000 in bail money. The same amount applied to Charles. Somehow Lisa and Nina did make bail in May of 2021, but Charles received no help from them and was left in prison. Questions had been asked as to why they were allowed bail in the first place. All 3 suspects had been charged with the murder of Marisela Botello or being complicit in that murder. Surely they were a high risk of going on the run once again. And that is exactly what happened.
It is a real-life case of Thelma and Louise right here in Texas. 2 women charged with murder are on the run tonight, and they could even be right here in Austin.
Nina Morano and her wife, Lisa Dykes, each out on bond for the murder of a 23-year-old woman, are now on the run, according to court documents.
Now these 2 women are out, and we don't know how long it's going to take to find them again.
Having been freed on bond awaiting trial, both women bided their time until the following Christmas. Believing that there wouldn't be many law enforcement officers working, they headed to the Good Latimer Expressway in Dallas. From there, both of their GPS tags were disabled within 4 minutes of each other. The police tried to contact them repeatedly without success. Once again, they had disappeared. And now the manhunt would begin again. It wasn't just carelessness by the authorities to let them out on bail. It now was hugely embarrassing to the police once again. Thankfully, their stint on the run wasn't going to last very long. After a joint investigation including the FBI, Nina and Lisa were both locked up again on February the 27th of 2022. This time they would not get affordable bail. Appearing back in court on the 6th of June 2022, Judge Amber Gibbons set their bond at $4 million. Neither of them was going to come up with that kind of money. They will now remain in jail until the trial. When it came to the start of the trial, evidence was presented by police, including over 300 voice recordings, photos, and videos that hadn't been seen by either the prosecution or the defense. As a result, the trial was stopped immediately. As if that wasn't bad enough, a further hearing was called by the prosecution in March of 2023, in which they wanted Judge Gibbons tossed from the case altogether. This was because they believed that she had expressed bias against the state prosecutor. She argued that she had not shown bias, but frustration at the police presenting evidence that had not been seen before and was holding the process up. As a result, Judge Gibbons was recused from the case. Further to this case, Judge Gibbons was also recused from a further 100 cases after hearings found that she had acted in a biased manner. Since this comedy of errors occurred, no trial has yet begun, and all three suspects remain in jail. This case has been both complex and, in parts, confusing. 3 people allegedly conspiring to kill a young woman. There are still many details to come out when the case goes to court, whenever that may be. Sadly and frustratingly for the family and friends of Marisela Botello, they will have to wait even longer. Marisela was a young woman in the prime of her life. She loved nothing more than to travel around, seeing new places and meeting new people. Unfortunately, with youth can come a sense of invulnerability, not always thinking that something bad may happen. It is a sad indictment of the world we live in today and of some of the people in it, but it was not wise for Marisela to go out in Deep Ellum on her own that evening. Perhaps her ex-boyfriend could have warned her about the potential dangers. But none of this was his fault, and no doubt he carries a certain amount of grief around with him, and probably will for the rest of his life. The family of Marisela Botello have been torn apart by this tragic death. She was described as the light of their lives, always fun to be around, and always having a smile on her face. They have now been left in limbo by a legal system that is supposed to protect them and unable to gain any form of closure, leaving them in perpetual grief. Areas like Deep Ellum rely heavily on people to come into the area to enjoy themselves. Without these people, many of the bars, shops, and restaurants would close down, taking with them many jobs that local people rely on. The tragic and senseless death of Marisela Botello has had a profound impact on the local community and those who frequent Deep Ellum. It was well known that the area wasn't the safest at night when large groups of people had been drinking all day. But now, although people still go there, it is not as busy as it once was. Businesses are having to work very hard to convince others that the area is welcoming to all and that anyone can go and enjoy themselves without their lives being in danger. It is clear that the area and its businesses did not have enough CCTV to reassure people. The only CCTV images that have been made public are the ones of Marisela leaving the bar with Charles. Hopefully, in the future, the tragic events in this case will prompt businesses to be much more vigilant, and we can only pray that this will prevent any further crimes like this from taking place ever again. If you found this story compelling, don't forget to like the video, comment down below your take on it, and please subscribe to the channel. Also hit the notification bell in order to stay up to date each time we reveal a new shocking case. Until next time, stay safe and keep your eyes peeled. You never know what's lurking in the shadows.